Two authoritarian countries, two powerful economies, huge armies with nuclear weapons and tons of sanctions. Sounds like a very dangerous mix. The alliance between China and Russia has been considered to be a boogeyman for kids, told by cornered politicians that need to scare their voters. But the direction the world's order is moving towards might soon make one's boogeyman into a real threat to Americans' dominance. How did Russia and China manage to create a foundation for becoming a joint superpower right under America's nose? How deep does their alliance go? Can the United States lose its positions? Let's investigate. Russia and China have a long and complicated history filled with solidarity or disagreements. Until a few years ago, Western experts were skeptical and did tend to downplay the future of China and Russia forming strategic partnerships. During the past decade, two countries were in fact slowly establishing new grounds for cooperation, strengthening their ties. 20 years ago, in 2002, Russian imports to China totaled $6.18 billion worth of goods, and China exported to Russia $3.72 billion worth of goods. In 2007, Russian imports more than doubled, reaching $15.6 billion, and Chinese export to Russia grew 8 times to $30.5 billion. 5 years after that, in 2012, Russia imported $38 billion worth of goods, and China $46.6 billion worth. In 2017, Russian export totaled $42 billion, and Chinese fell to $45.4 billion. In February 2022, China and Russia announced a new cooperation pact, which they referred to as a no-limit cooperation. This declaration has pledged deepening of militaristic and trading relationships, as well as collaboration in space, climate change, the internet, and AI. Politically, this document has stated Russia and China to be successful democracies. And now, at the end of 2022, after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the trade between China and Russia has soared. Economic ties are growing as China turns to Russia for energy and food amid global shortages, as Russia's access to world's market is constrained by Western sanctions. Russia in recent months became China's largest oil supplier, and China's imports of Russian natural gas and coal are also rising. At the same time, Beijing is importing more wheat and other agricultural goods from Russia, having lifted import restrictions on Russian wheat after the invasion of Ukraine. Since September 2021, the exports of China have increased by 21.3% or $1.4 billion, and imports from Russia grew by $3.73 billion or 53.9%. In terms of economic cooperation, both countries have compatible capacities and needs, despite being asymmetrical power-wise. The Chinese economy is far superior, but the increased trade and partnership surely will strengthen the economy of Russia. Russia currently is mainly an exporter of natural resources and arms technologies, and China is by far the largest market for that. China's production lines can surely be adapted in Russia, and producers of goods in Russia will quickly fix all areas where they are lagging behind, thanks to the help from China. Currently, China is continuing to invest in Russia's infrastructure. For example, the construction of the Russia-China gas pipeline Power of Siberia 2 will begin in 2024. China has apparently agreed to pay for Russian gas both in rubles and yuan, but more on that later. New bridges, roads and railways are being jointly financed, with some now operational, such as the Amur River Bridge between Heihe and Blagoveshchensk, that connects huge volumes of trade passing through Heilongjiang province to the Trans-Siberian Railway, and vice versa. The trading and investment cooperation is going strong, but is that really the reason to be worried? What the US should be worried about is the leverage those economic ties give to Russia and China. The world's factory and the world's richest country in terms of national resources will soon be able to put enough pressure on the world by threatening to stop all productions and material exports. Even more, it has already started, but more on that later. Over the years, cooperation in military industry has been an important, even symbolic part of Russian-China relationships. Russian sales of weaponry has helped to establish ground for political and economic ties. We can say even more, weapon trade between the USSR and People's Republic of China have been the first stone in the foundation of the relationships as we can see them now. After entering the Korean War in October 1950, China suffered heavy losses and turned to the Soviets for aid. In October 1951, Moscow agreed to provide massive amounts of equipment and assistance from Soviet experts. Soviet aid included around 700 MiG-15 fighter jets and 150 Tu-2 light bombers, and effectively tripled the size of China's Air Force fleet. The Soviet Union also abetted China's nuclear development, both for civilian and military purposes. Soviet aid included training Chinese scientists, supporting China's weapon-grade uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing, and assisting with warhead design and production missile technologies. Yet this military cooperation did not last. By 1960, ideological and political differences resulted in the Sino-Soviet split, which effectively lasted until the normalization of relations in 1989. During this period, the two countries ceased virtually all forms of military aid and arms sales. In 1989, USSR and China resumed this partnership, which lasts to this day. The import goods for China have changed over the years, and now China mainly imports only aircrafts. But that doesn't mean that countries are not establishing new militaristic connections. Unlike military aid and arms sales, joint exercises are a relatively new and thriving element of China-Russia military ties and the driver behind strengthening China-Russia relations in recent years. First joint military exercise between China and Russia took place in 2003 and features a series of counter-terrorism drills bringing over 1,300 troops from China, Russia and SCO countries. In 2012, the full list of joint military exercise looked like this: Peace Mission 2005, Peace Mission 2007, Peace Mission 2009, Peace Shield 2009. Since 2012, the number of joint exercises skyrocketed. Exercises took place on land, sea and in the air all over Eurasia without crossing the borders of NATO. Even if we compare Russian and Chinese armies, we'll see that these two armies combined make up the most powerful army in the world. Together they have over 19,000 tanks, over 38,000 armored fighting vehicles, 25,000 units of artillery, 7,000 units of rocket artillery, 10,000 planes, 1,500 ships, roughly 150 submarines. And those numbers don't account for nuclear weapons. Russia currently has almost 6,000 warheads and China 350. But even those China has are enough to wipe out half of the Earth's population in a matter of minutes. Russia and China may be working on dethroning the dollar as the world's most used currency. But why is the dollar even so powerful? There are three main reasons for that: trust in its value, ability to buy oil for dollars, and the SWIFT network. Breaking these three pillars of dollar's dominance is what Russia and China are after. Russia has felt the need for that in 2014, and China, since US-China trading wars in 2018, was almost forced to look for alternate solutions. In 2019, countries have signed the agreement to replace the dollar with national currencies in international settlements between them. Along with Putin having interest in yuan, between 2013 and 2020, the Russian central bank halved its dollar-denominated reserves. In 2021, Russia revealed plans to ditch the dollar completely, increasing its yuan reserve instead. China, on its part, has created a bilateral currency swap, which should make trading in yuan or rubles much more efficient. To understand how it works, we first must see how the SWIFT works. SWIFT uses a complicated system of national banks making transactions between each other. For example, for trader number 1 to trade with trader number 2, trader number 1 must transfer money to his national bank in his national currency, which transfers them to one American bank in dollars. Then those funds are sent to another American bank, from which they go to the national bank of a second trader, converted into national currency of that bank, and only then they get transferred to trader number 2. This scheme is complicated and has a high fees, plus a longer transaction time. Bilateral currency swap, on the other hand, works differently. Countries sign the agreement for a certain period and a certain trading amount. Let's take China and Italy for example. China will send a certain amount of yuan to Italy, and Italy will sell China a corresponding amount of euros with a fixed exchange rate. Then, over the years, a Chinese bank can sell euros to buy dollars and lend that money. The Italian bank can do the same with yuan. And if an Italian trader wants to buy something from China, he'll buy yuan from an Italian bank, send that money to a Chinese bank in Italy, which will then send them to a Chinese bank in China. And after that, the Chinese trader will get his money. And then, after the agreement comes to an end, Italy and China will exchange currencies once again. Bilateral currency swap eliminates the exchange risk, spends less on fees, and still can use dollars for trade if needed. Bilateral currency swap is literally the key to dethroning the US dollar. China and Russia together have a huge leverage over the West. China can leverage on natural resources the West depends on, and China has lended money to countless small, poor countries and can force them to adopt bilateral currency swap, thus making yuan positions stronger. What can America do? Impose sanctions on everyone who uses bilateral currency swap? That definitely will only motivate countries to de-dollarize trade. The USA should offer more transparent and convenient trading options, so the traders see trading in dollars as a cost-efficient solution. For now, Russia and China are not formally treaty allies, which means they are not bound to provide military aid and help in each other's defense. But their ties have grown strong in recent years, so much that they are openly calling themselves strategic partners. Their partnerships still has a long way to go, but we should definitely consider the possibility of a new world order. Countries will continue to cooperate and build connections, and maybe in a few years we'll hear about a new, powerful alliance that will take over the world. What do you think? Can Russia and China build a new world, or the US will steamroll them? Type your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you've enjoyed watching. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.